Hey guys, we're back. Episode 25, both sides of the line. We're only 1 week in between our last one, which I think is good. So what are we doing? What are we discussing? And how you been?
Yeah, good to be back, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
Always.
Episode 25. I don't know if you had a choice, actually.
You just rocked up.
I just rocked up. We're doing it today. Thanks for having me on, mate. Not too much since last week, but I think given our podcast episode last week, we've got the opportunity, I think, to probably really sink our teeth into what our athlete community, not just our athletes, everyone impacted from parents up to basketball organizations or sporting organizations or clubs or whatever it is, what they're going through. And I think it's really important that, like we sort of said last week, is we want to have as much of these things that are troubling kids, as an example, that we see week in, week out. We want to address those, but we want to address in a way that it becomes a positive impact. Is that correct?
Yeah,
correct. So I guess as we were sitting here brainstorming,
which was very,
which was a bit of a rare thing because we tend to go raw, real, and unscripted. But we wanted to add value in this one, given what we spoke about last podcast.
And can we explain the brainstorming scenario we went through? Because it's probably going to be a 5-10 minute breakdown of let's just work about the heart and soul what we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
Probably for an hour or so, or maybe more. How far do we go, and how much?
We went on all sorts of journeys and tangents and whatnot. And I think it was probably me that started because I said to you, I remember saying to you, I said, I don't know how to. I just said sort of straight off the bat, I go, what are we trying to actually achieve here? Like, I don't know how to.
Are we out of our depth?
Are we out of our depth? Is that what the word I use? I think I'm out of my depth.
Yep.
And now, if I'm saying I'm out of my depth, and I've been coaching a little while now.
And you're a parent,
and I'm a parent as well.
And you're married, so you got those. Now, no one say you work.
You got all these different roles or hats that you wear.
Correct.
Hey?
Yes.
So that's just me in a nutshell, and I would consider myself living a reasonably okay existence right now. I wouldn't say I'm struggling with anything in particular. You know, there's nothing that's sort of dragging me down at this point in my life right now. Things are going along okay. But if I am in those roles, like you say, but I'm okay. But if someone is not generally doing okay and has all these roles, what's all the impacts of that?
Massive. That's where, I said to you in our workshop, which I think we'll discuss a little bit more too about that brainstorm we went through. Is a driving here. I said, I'm hoping this is not a negative conversation all the time. No. The idea is if we can find little ways to create little sections of these negativities and chip away at them, surely we'll find a way to help navigate, get a bit more understanding, and then we can start to work on to understand what is the true outcome, and it's got to be positive.
That's right. That's what we want to get across. So
like in a game, we always say, if I said to you, Aaron, you're down by 30 at half time, are you going to tell the kids we need to win this game? Or are you going to say we need to chip away at this game and just see what presents itself? Yeah. Which way would you go?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. It's just a slight alteration of perspective. And I think it's something that's actually useful that's come about in sport at the moment is coaches are a lot more cognizant of let's just bite off little bits if we're in this real hard predicament right now and just see what's what.
So what you just said there was a great way to explain. No, you said, bit by bit, just bite out a little bit by bit.
Yeah.
You asked me a question, why it's so difficult to try and make a difference, yeah?
Yeah.
In our brainstorming. My mentality is, I think it's more simple than complicated if we went that approach. And the best approach about all this, though, is the only way we can chip away at it if we start to chip away at it.
Yeah. Now, my concern was, where do you start?
Correct. So let's go back to that then. In the conversation, how do you feel when we started together collectively? How do you think what we discussed? And it was pretty in depth, and it was pretty mind blowing, and pretty confusing, and it felt simple, and it was a bit more complicated. How did you feel after we had the conversation?
Yeah, I feel like I had a lot more clarity with how I would actually perhaps go about tackling some issues.
But why do you think it was more complicated before we actually sat down and just chipped away at it?
Because when you sit down, right, I should talk into this. When you sit down and for example, you can list some of the issues that you're facing, and you go, well, I've got this issue here, could be self-doubt, and I've got this issue here where I've got fear of failure, for example. To me, I look at all that and I go, it's all the one thing, isn't it?
It's a layer effect.
But it's a layer effect, right? But I wasn't thinking of it like that. I'm going, it's all the one thing. It's all these things mashed together. And I go, well, how do you sort of work your way or navigate your way through trying to alter your mindset, I guess, or work your way through the problem? It's just, to me, it just felt so big and overwhelming.
And I
think that's probably the message that's coming through.
Correct. Absolutely. And that's why all we're trying to do here is in this conversation, again, it's not as if we're doing research and going, we're right and wrong with psychologists.
That's what I was saying. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what I'm going to.
Yeah, but it's logical thinking. It's common sense prevails. Like I said, I gave Aaron an example. I went to this, I can't remember what it was. There's a few thousand people there. I said, Dad's go down there just not long. I think it was that year of the accident. It was that year. It would have been only a couple of months after. And they're going through this thing about how you need to, get to the core problem of your problems. So whatever that problem is, deal with that. And I'm listening, going, it makes sense. Go to the biggest thing, the hardest thing, and let's just attack that hard.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there listening, going, Daz, let's try and listen a little bit longer. I thought, nah. So I put my hand up.
Yep.
Stood up in thousands of people, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Daz is either going to, say what he thinks in the wrong way or try and express it in the appropriate way. Because I was really struggling with a lot of things at the time.
Yeah.
I was reading analogies and thoughts and where was I? Just how I felt overall was just a total mess.
Yeah.
So I said to him, look, I really like the way you're doing things. I think you got to attack things and really attack them with purpose, intent, and passion to overcome something. I said, but my problem was I had this big thing, which is an accident, but I had all these underlying things outside that I was dealing with.
Yeah.
So I felt that all those little things on the outer layer would take me away, or my focus, not just emotionally and physically, to deal with the core problem.
Yep.
And that was a moment in my life.
Yep.
So I said to him, wouldn't it be smarter for someone like me to try and attack the smaller ones so the best version of me can attack the ultimate one?
Yeah, the core of, yeah.
He goes, makes sense. But it's on the story.
Yep.
And that's what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
For me, that's why I'm passionate about this, because I get all these different ways. Oh, well, it's just too big or it's too hard. But no, if I attack the small things, it becomes more simpler to attack the main thing.
Yeah.
I can give more focus, more attention to detail. But why have 1,000 things going on in my head? Of course, it's going to feel consuming, overwhelming, and mind-blowing. If I was in a team, same thing. We chip away. We'll find the core problem. But let's just get the underlying ones out the way first. If those little ones, get them out, get rid of them, move them, and then let's just work on the heart and soul of the problem.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's how I look at it. Doesn't mean I'm right.
No.
I'm just trying to share thoughts of someone who's gone through it in a real life situation, that it can look more simpler, but I understand why it looks so complicated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably feel a great deal of thought, all these thoughts at once, and just breeds confusion, I think.
Oh, let's talk about individuals. Let's talk about individuals struggling. So we use the things that we discussed last week of trusting oneself, pressure as oneself, fear of rejection, self-doubt, communication, making mistakes, carrying the burden of all, fear of blah, 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 blah. So the list goes on.
Yeah.
So you try and find the smaller ones, which may impact the bigger one. And you work out, well, how do I chip away at those ones first?
Okay.
So if I'm worried about making mistakes, that means I self-doubt. So maybe I control my self-doubts first before I worry about making the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the order is, but like you said, we try and
bite off
the ones we can get rid of and push aside, or maybe not park, but also remember, I might be able to solve one of those things that might automatically eradicate for others.
A lot of others, correct.
So instead
That's
of
what I was saying before, it
correct.
felt like a lot of these things were all just hand in hand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm worried about making mistakes and self-doubting, of course I'm probably going to be judged because of how it looks. So I don't need to worry about the judgment right now. I need to work on self-doubt.
Yeah.
I might make bad decisions, which means I might get judged accordingly.
Correct.
I think that made sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So we just particularly worked on one concept to fix
3, 4,
essentially, which might, if you fix those 3, what would happen to the other ones?
They tend to correct themselves.
Yeah. So that's all we're trying to do.
Yep.
Is it right or wrong? You said last week, very crucial. We talk about it, but we don't solve it. Well, it's not about solving it yet. It's about starting the process of beginning the journey of how do I start to chip away at it.
Yeah.
If we can convince you to chip away at it.
And the point you raised in our conversation was, and this is a habit that we human beings have right now.
I'm going to try and find something while we're talking. Yeah.
I was going to say the point you raised is, and it's the habit we've got right now, is we want to fix everything now, all at once.
And we're impatient. We're so consumed that we're worried about the long-term effects. We just want to get done now so I can live a better life. But we're always fighting battles, mate. We've got to work a way to chip away at them, make them smaller and make them bigger.
Correct.
I want to find something. So guys just say, no, well, as it's talking, I'm just going to find something. I did. That doesn't mean it's good. It may have been Dazza, did something what Dazza does.
So I think when we were talking through our brainstorming, I was saying that, well, don't we control everything? And you sort of, you had a bit of a funny look at me. You go, oh,
in a good way, not
in a good way. No, you had a look at me and you said, oh, there's probably two ways to it, isn't there? So there's what you can actually control, but what's actually, was it the outside impact that sort of forced upon you to make you feel this way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And then,
so that's something we might be able to unpack a little bit here.
Right, so we'll head down that direction. So let me show this one then, if I can get this up and running. Guys, I'm apologising. Like I said, we're going to try and share things and do things what we can and find out things that we can try and just share with you guys. Pretty sure this won't go over. So as going a bit more about the line between the two categories that we come up with, why you saw it one as you thought, not that you thought that in a wrong way. You thought maybe is it more self-imposed, is it not? And then maybe being the devil's advocate, I threw something back. What led to us creating the two categories?
Yeah. So look, I probably just it's probably my first thought off the cuff. Really, was more or less around if I'm feeling these things, why should it matter what someone else thinks? But why can't I solve that myself? Like adjust my perspective or my attitude or my self-talk or whatever it is. Like why should someone else's view, opinion, thoughts about me really matter?
Have we been taught that?
Well, that's the argument you said. You go, well, have we actually been taught that? And we probably haven't.
Or
in general.
And I know, I'm not really, I know God's way or whatever, I don't know, we're built a certain way, but you're built a certain way.
Yeah.
I'm built a certain way.
Yeah. I often say I'm cold-hearted.
Yeah, but you got to remember too, you become who you are because certain things happen in your life.
Certain things happened, right.
Positive, negative.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Our normal processing of what we do and how we learn things is by experience.
Yeah.
So when I come out of my mum's womb, I don't think I was automatically a confident, outgoing guy.
No, well,
I'd come out going, what the fuck's this? Sorry, I didn't swear. That's a swear jar. Sorry, you nearly did one last week. But what is, we had to navigate through what's in front of me and present it, and then I learn from it. Then if I get a lot of positive, warm support, I'm probably going to be more of a positive, supporting person. If I'm raised in a negative, I'm probably going to be more negative.
Yeah.
If I'm raised with an iron fist, does that mean I'm going to raise my kids? It's just, I'm not saying it's all about parenting. It's just sometimes who we are, our traits are from things that we've gone through. Or maybe the opposite. I've gone through that, so I'm not going to do that. Reflective.
So it comes back to your own choices then, doesn't it?
It comes, yeah, but it also comes down to how you deal with the impact of that thing that happened to you. So let's go tragic. So that went to that night. People told me how I should have dealt with it.
Yeah.
Within my responses, is that self choice on how I dealt with it, and I dealt with it wrong. But was it wrong?
Well, probably
at the time.
At the time, no.
But now,
how you feel.
But now I can reflect on it, change my ways of my behaviour, who I am, because of what I went through. But at the time, so as I'm talking about now, kids in their time, they don't know yet what they need to process until they get a little bit and look back at it. So that's my sin. Whether it's an accident or a sporting situation or a negative behaviour that's happened to them, they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to do it.
You're not taught, are you? Unless you're, schools don't teach it. Let's be honest, they don't. Choice
is to cope with it, or no, I'm going to get it wrong. I don't really know if it's choice on how your feelings come out naturally. Are you normally an emotional person? Are you strong-willed? Your facade of being a strong-willed person, but you've never dealt with issues. Have you always pushed the problems under the carpet? And then one day, what happens? Boom.
Boom. Yeah, you explode.
So that moment may not be about that moment. It might be the icing on the
icing on the cake. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's, to be fair, there's a lot of things in choice on how we use these as excuses or not.
Yeah.
But that's self-imposing. I just don't know. I think it's questionable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I share something?
Yes.
Means I've done this well. I've never done this. Can I do this?
Hey.
All right. So I love this image. So I put a post last night. Sometimes I feel I'm in those feelings. To achieve something you've never achieved before, you'll have to have done something you've never done before. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But then we're going up further. I think Nelson Mandela had something to do with a part of this thing. If success within that journey is achieved, ensure to reflect and embrace not just the achievement, because it's good to embrace the achievement. But a lot of people don't see what was done in between that. So, most importantly, how many times you fell down and got back up, and remind yourself of the courage to stay in the fight and inspire others to keep getting back up, because the opportunity to achieve or succeed can only be a possibility if we stay in the fight.
Mm-hmm. That's really powerful stuff there.
So why do you think I put that up?
Why do I think you put that up?
I'm just say you'll go for you've known me, we're doing.
Well, it just gives a huge sense of again what we went back to earlier is staying in the fight and just chipping away.
Well, talking about this image, and this is my favorite image. But do you think that fish had the chances to jump out on the first go?
Well, it probably took it 20 goes before it actually got airborne there.
And when will I say enough is enough? I just can't do it. But if you keep doing it, you keep trying, you got more chance of achieving.
Correct.
You could have said the wars, I just can't do this.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great, powerful image because you're inside that close-knit, comfortable environment. Mm. You're now going into the open, unknown waters.
Correct.
With no guarantees of success. Is that fair?
That's fair.
What I want to see is how we can try and create these kids to get the courage, or coaches and parents get the courage to give this a go, to see what they can potentially achieve, to create the better version of themselves.
Mm-hmm. So how do you go about? It's a good question. So how do we go about doing that, Daz?
Well, we got to start to share our journeys, our stories, or examples. Not examples with meaning. Well, for example, if you're not going to shoot the ball because you're scared you're going to miss, get that mentality. But what if you shoot and make the shot?
Yeah,
that's how simple this is. So instead of worrying about what if you miss, what about if you made? What about if it was what if it was going to be a good outcome and not necessarily a negative outcome?
Yeah, I think Michael Jordan says that somewhere along something similar along those lines. I miss so many shots, but
there's 1,000 people with all these analogies, but it's the same analogy.
Mm.
But the problem is though, the Michael Jordan ones. I love Michael Jordan. I've got some little bit of a thing I love downstairs about him, but they're just words now, mate. Because people don't see what he did behind the scenes to miss those shots.
Yeah.
Every highlight reel.
There's many.
Are they more of what he achieved or what he didn't achieve?
Well, they illustrate what he's achieved.
Great. So I think it's great. So the kids can actually see all those missed shots, all those times that he took the sacrifice to get to where he is today. We don't see
the
times he fell down.
Stories of that where he fell down and
which we always celebrate is the achievement.
Is the end result.
It's great.
Don't understand the journey.
Correct. Sometimes you see a team win they're just a good team. Well, no. You probably didn't realize in the preseason, those guys were struggling to get along. Those guys didn't get the buy-in from the coach. You don't understand the emotional and mental strain that they went through just to try and get a collaborating group working together to get to the result they are today.
Correct.
And I'll break down because I can use examples. Game 1 against Keilor Youth League, we lost by 47 points in game 1 of a best-of-3 series on our home court, and we were they were the more favourite, but we were just as favourite to win. In other words, it could have gone all the way.
Yeah.
What do you think I went through with me and my boys to just get past that game?
Tell me, Daz, what did you go through?
What do you think? What would you have gone through? You lost by 47 points in front of your home team.
Well, I got a feeling when something like that happens, it's not X's and O's related too much.
What is it?
Fair?
Don't know. Well, I don't know.
Was it a complete, just bit of a mind shift sort of?
I'd just say certain shots didn't drop, bad pass into that, and then this adds on to that. And then what I did, I found 61 points of maybe it wasn't as bad as it looks. So maybe I changed the mindset.
Oh, there you go.
I found points that probably didn't exist. So, boys, there's 61 points that are easy to get back. They're looking at me and we broke it down and, missed foul shot. Then, if we're down by 5, we're chasing that. We were shooting, probably have to shoot a few more to close the gap. And the shots were good we took. Probably, we did a little bit more time, but they were still good shots. And there's 61 points that I think that we can do like that.
Mm.
So what do we do next week at training? Just train harder. Stick to the game plan that got us there. 1 by 4. Game 2. Lost by 6 in game 3, but that's okay. I'd say game 2 is our grand final. And that's our success. It was game 2. It wasn't about game 3. It was turning around saying, how can we change it? But people need to realize what got us to that point.
Yeah.
The preseason, the lead up, what it got us firing, what got us working together. Then why do we fall in a hole in that one game that could have blown everything back to where we were 12 months prior? A lot of emotional work involved in that concept.
Growth. Yeah.
So instead of just achieving we got there and we fought back, let's really embrace what we did to even get to that position.
Yeah. 100%.
So we don't see enough of that.
Great mindset shift.
Yeah, we don't see any of that. So I like to see when you say, how do I convince someone? I need to be emotionally in tune to that person.
Yeah.
I need to really inspire them to believe in me, that I'm believing in them, and together we're going to try and make you take that step that you never wanted to take because you're too scared to.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying, do it, I'm not inspired. I'm scared. I'm scared as hell. If you can emotionally create the connection and build that trust and that feeling, you'd think that child not only going to want to do it for themselves, they're probably going to want to do it for you.
So you go back to there were keywords there, building the connection. And that's what a lot of successful sporting teams have identified now. Not just sporting teams, but just people, families, organizations, whatever it is, staying connected.
So Aaron wanted to find a word earlier, and we didn't know what it was.
Find it.
You just found it.
Yeah, connection.
So we have connection. What could happen to a lot of these things that we see on
they tend to just not matter. Not
matter, but
not really be an issue. You know,
easier to deal with. Easier to deal with.
Easier to deal with.
Because they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
Easier to deal with. So
yeah, easier to deal with, correct. Because you're going to have that honest conversation, that bit of encouragement, whatever it is, because you're connected.
So that's
Does that sound right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why I'd love to see a story or a journey that shows me from start to finish the complete story.
Yeah.
Look at cake. I love cake. You love cake?
Oh, mate.
So unless you put the icing on the cake, it's still just a cake.
I still eat the cake, don't
I? Right? But when I say it's like putting the icing on the cake, it's the finishing touches. But we go to a bakery, unless you make them, I see the cake. But you don't see what's put into the ones who really generally care and the effort they put into getting the cake to that thing for us to eat it in half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
All that work, all that stress, all that worry, and have to get that to where it is today. Appreciate what got it there, or got to that point.
Yeah.
Do we do enough of that?
No, God, no, we don't.
So is this
because we're impatient?
Okay, impatient and also scared of. We're so consumed. We're so fearful. We're more fearful of everything's going to happen because it just keeps building up. So why don't we stop, reflect? Well, yesterday's not my tomorrow.
Yeah.
You ever thought this way? Is it more simpler now?
Yeah, it does. Well, it's like you said. I walked into this and going, "Geez, how are we actually going to? How are we going to break this down?" Yeah.
So if you had the opportunity to have an opportunity to work with, not the big group, the whole group. Actually, before I go to this point, half the problem is we accept it, that this is the normal. We're always going to have issues. We have to deal with challenges. We have to fight through, and I don't think we have to always do that. When I remember speaking to a committee member who does my heading, but I won't say who it was, tells me there's always politics in committees. I said, but you accept that. So you classify it as the norm. That's my problem. You think that's normal. I think that's abnormal.
Yeah.
If you tell me that you have to learn to live with X, well, sometimes you don't have to live with that. Sometimes you have to accept that. But sometimes on the flip side, you need to get over that. You need to work through that. You need to get both sides of the line. What's this called, sorry?
Both sides of the line. But you just understand the other point of difference.
Have to.
Yeah, just understand the other point. It doesn't mean it has to divide you.
Well, as long as you put it out there
and
talk about both sides, you're showing the person that you can see either or.
Yeah, and you have an understanding of where that person's coming from.
And then what side can we put you on? Do we do enough of that?
No, but you know what that does? That builds a connection.
Right. So is this as complex as we make out?
Well, when we break it down like that, no, it's not.
And always, I'm stressed about the mental health. I'm stressed about what I'm seeing. Like it's mostly affecting me right now. It's so consuming, but it's also empowering.
Yeah, 100%.
On two sides.
Empowering. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes I think this is not a mental health issue. This is an issue that can be resolved. Mental health, I think, is more permanent. It's got more of a long term. It's a long way to go through a lot of things to try and get yourself back to where you were. We just got to work out.
May not.
Have I got mental health? Probably still have. But still, that's from 18 years ago, Aaron. So that's a journey. But sometimes I see things and we think that's a mental health issue. I don't think it is. I think that might be just connect. That person might feel empowered. And that person might wake up next day and go, hey, life's great. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Absolutely does.
I'm not questioning mental health. Trust me. Like I'm
it's
very,
a very serious issue. We know
it's emotional.
It's different for everyone.
We've had what day is today? Friday, Thursday. So since late Monday night, I've had 12 phone calls from concerns.
12. 4 days.
That's not a lot compared to what we've had.
Wow. Yeah.
We've got presentations come back in from our workshops. Emotional, but also empowering.
Yep.
These kids are looking at things and seeing things.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're going to see things from a different perspective. And then identify, they might be able to resolve those ones.
Yeah.
They might have a bit of a fight here, but we can resolve them and fight that. That fight becomes pretty simple. Not simple, sorry. Easier to fight.
Yeah. So
wrong word.
Is it the responsibility of both parties to then, like you said, come together, get an understanding of their point of views?
Yeah, and just put it on table.
What they're feeling.
So
it's a hard thing to do. I think people get scared because they're worried, it's just going to be a conflict.
We accept that as normal.
Yeah, that's right. Like some people would rather not have the conflict.
I'm going to ask you
potential
something.
Conflict.
Well, I'm going to ask you something because I'm not going to ask you because you're going to say no. That's what people do. Why ask the person when we're going to get no? Well, my thought would be what? The other side of the line. But if you ask,
they understand where I'm coming from.
You're at the same level. So you ask a question, now you're going to get the same response. But what if you get the different response? Is that a bonus?
100%.
So you got nothing to lose.
Correct. But even if you do get the response that you thought you might get, at least that person may understand where you're at and where you're coming from.
Yeah, but then now it's factual.
Correct.
Now it's factual. You can let it try.
So that's a win-win. It's sorry, not a win-win, but at least a little win in that sense.
Do you think we do a lot of illusional stuff and not factual stuff?
So when you say illusional stuff,
I think that person thinks that of me.
Oh yeah,
I think my coach thinks of me this way. My teammates, my parent, or my teammates' parents think this of me. Do you think sometimes?
Because we always, I think it's becoming I shouldn't use the word pandemic.
I miss COVID. I want 4 weeks off. I shouldn't say that.
Oh jeez. I think it's become a common trend that we're just constantly comparing ourselves to others. I think that's what drives that a little bit.
I think we discussed this couple of months ago. How much I love Michael Jordan. You know I love him. I don't want to be Michael Jordan. I want to be Darren Hindle. I like what Michael Jordan's done and what he's achieved and how he goes about things.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, example. He wanted to learn the craft from the best player in the league, but Kobe Bryant never said, I'm Michael Jordan.
He goes, I'm
Kobe Bryant. He stayed the guy. He learned from him, embraced all that he could do. But we only see all the positives he saw in Michael Jordan. We haven't seen Kobe break down the negatives of Michael Jordan and say, well, I don't want to be part of that.
Unfortunately, we won't get to.
That could be in life learnings. That could be, what Michael Jordan does or doesn't do outside of basketball.
Yeah.
It could be the way Michael Jordan does or doesn't walk into a stadium. It's not all the positive he studied. He studied everything about the guy and chose to pick and break down the things that would help his game and probably him as a person.
Yeah.
We don't see the other stuff.
No, you don't. You don't understand. Yeah, we generally don't understand that stuff, the work that goes into that.
We spend more focusing on what someone else has and what I don't have.
Correct.
What that person can do and what I can't do. And then we start getting debates in a place on, well, when do we start to classify why he's truly a talented person who's worked hard compared to the other. There's so much we can discuss about that. So what are your thoughts so far, champion?
Well, compared to where I was a couple of hours ago, a lot more clearer.
So can we explain that? Because I really want to get, because I
just felt overwhelmed. I just thought, how are we even going to break down?
But what's changed now? We haven't solved the thing.
I know, but what I'm saying is all those things that we were talking about last week, it just felt like one big overwhelming problem. Like, how do you break that down? Like I don't have a psychology degree to break stuff down like
so
that.
Do you need a psychology degree to break it down the way I just did?
No. Well, I think one thing that sort of clicked with me is...
Oh, can I pause? I'm not knocking psychologists.
No.
What I mean by that is it's not always a psychological where we got to worry about being a psychologist. That's what I meant by that. Yeah. Sorry.
I think the one thing that from this conversation with you today and now is if you can have someone you can bring along the journey with you, like just to understand, like just to bounce off where you're at and why. To have someone that can give a perspective doesn't mean you have to take that advice on board, but just be a sounding board that can help navigate your way through things.
That's why you always be careful when you read
when
you just read a statement or you read a comment or you read a book. That's that version in a hard copy concept. But sometimes I'll explain to you. So I won't say who. So we had someone coming here to meet us about something in work on the retail side. I said to Aaron, I really struggle with the fact that we don't have these professional catalogs out like everyone does. But I said to Aaron, the thing I love about this is when the people come in here, they get to meet me personally. Then they can understand what we represent and the values we carry.
Correct.
And then I hope that connection and that personal interaction will make these people want to trust what we do and how we go about it. And then I'll show you the catalog.
Yep. Exactly.
I want to show you the catalog afterwards. Meet me first. Because I may not want to do the work for you. So let's meet. Sometimes, you'll get those, can you help us out? Yeah, we will. But my priority will always be, I want to meet who we're working with, who we're doing, who we're dealing with. If I'm going to have suppliers, I want phone calls. It's not just a computer trail.
Yeah.
Personal interaction. So when I do ring up and I need help in something, we feel we know each other and they'll go the extra yard.
For you. Yeah. To help you out. I get that.
So maybe I didn't realize that. Maybe I'm going down a path that, we want to stick to the robotic way that probably doesn't work. We need to have more engagement, more connection while implementing these things that we're trying to implement.
Correct. 100%.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you set out an X and O sheet to your team, like coach think you're going to read it, come back and implement training. No, you might need to sit down and go through it with each individual.
Yeah, well, I can categorically say I've had to do that.
Yeah, but some people probably don't because they think they've done their job or they've done it as a group. Let's say how many times, if you've seen it, I sit there and watch a lot of teams start their new offense with the starting five. They'll go through every aspect and every variation for how many minutes? Say roughly 40 minutes. Then they get the next group in who probably only get it for 15 minutes. Then we wonder why we're getting a gap between the top and the bottom end.
Yeah. Correct.
So all I was trying to say is, hey, first five in. Just get a feel.
Yeah.
I might have my bigs out, my guards might be out. I need a bit of so you all need to learn where the 5 spot does, the 4 spot, 3 spot, 2, just in case we're down and out on numbers on size.
Yeah.
So my theory is, why don't we all just learn it the same way? So if I actually walk through it properly, so next group in, some coaches tend to step back and just presume it's just going to happen and then wonder why it's not working. And then they get the other guys back in to show it again. Who's getting the most development? Just put it out there.
Yeah.
And then how do those 5 people think? What if they're not visual learners?
Yeah, well, that's it too. You got to try and accommodate every different type of learner that you might have.
So my problem you need, as long as you've got engagement from your players, however you do your training, as long as you get the engagement, you probably might get the productivity out of that training.
Correct. That's the same thing for anything in life, isn't it?
So, yeah, I'm not sure what that message was, but anyway, I led somewhere.
So,
mate. I want to go back to the brainstorming.
Okay.
I know we discussed it. We've touched on it. What was so good about you and me? Not that you and me had it more, just chatting.
Yeah.
What was so good about that brainstorm?
Well, you're like I said, I felt overwhelmed at the start of it. But you're actually, because we're there and you and I, we have a great connection, we're actually able to just talk through the different aspects of what we thought and what we felt about it and actually just it was as simple as just bouncing ideas back and forth between each other and actually coming to basically a solid landing point of how we're going to have this discussion today, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
As simple as that.
and accepting that we get sidetracked.
Yes,
We'll go off tangent, but we always keep going. But we have to go off tangent to try and understand where we're heading.
mm-hmm. Yeah, correct.
It can't be so clear cut. We agree?
Yeah, exactly.
So, for example, why don't coaches and players do more of brainstorming and just having a conversation to see where they're thinking, where they go, then somehow marry into or merge into a outcome.
Correct.
But we don't do enough of that.
Do people know how to do that?
Well, you don't really. Well, to achieve something you've never done before, you got to do something you've never done before. That was why I did that post.
Yeah, some people might not think that way, isn't it?
It's not about do I know how to do it.
Do I want to do it?
Well, it's not about want.
Do I need to?
If you do it, you're going to learn from it.
Yeah.
Did it go well? Did it not go well? Was it right? Was it wrong? I don't know.
Yeah. You don't know until you try something.
But you are your own library by saying, until I give it a go, I'm never going to know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah. You may do something one way you had in your mind. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. And you walk away from it and go, that didn't work. So I've got to try it. I've got to go back to the drawing board a little bit and try a different way.
Well, it's like I'm still scratching my head with my lovely girls that I'm coaching. Because I put pressure on myself because I feel I fail then at times.
Yeah.
But I think I told you I found 3 key categories I need to focus on.
Yeah.
And if I can focus on those 3 categories, I'm going to tick every other category, which then might get the structure in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just have to accept that, which I want to. But I just feel as if I'm going, but I have to go off tangent, get back on and get to the girls or speak to the girls, whether how they feel, to maintain. Okay, I'm learning from the conversations. I'm learning from the tests and trials. I'm learning from the I'm learning.
Yeah. Getcha.
I don't come in with a set structure.
Yeah.
We got to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory is, you never know unless you have a go.
Correct. Just like the fish jumping out of the bowl.
Yeah. Or the old tippy toe in the water. It's cold. It's cold. For half an hour, you're dipping your toe in. You know you're going to jump in, right? You know you're going to jump in, As. You've done it. We've all done it. It's too cold. Then you jump in half an hour later, and I think I've used this many times. And then you jump in. You think, I could have been swimming for half an hour and having fun in the water.
Yeah.
Right or wrong?
Correct.
Oh, it's cold.
Okay.
We know it's cold. You know what's going to happen. You know the outcome.
Yeah.
So that's another problem. We're scared of the unknown. Is that fair?
Yeah.
But we're also fearful of what we already know. You know what's going to happen. You know the feeling you're going to have, but you also know it might be a good feeling at the start, or it might be a 2-second moment. That's all you got to get through.
Yeah, correct.
And the rest will be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So we're not just scared of the unknown. We're scared of what we already know. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And that probably what defines a lot of ways in which people just try and rationalize things at the start by themselves.
Correct. So my theory is blank canvas.
As best you can.
Brainstorm more. It's okay if you lose track of the direction you've taken. You'll eventually get back to the direction you need to take. You need to go off track.
Yeah. And
to understand the direction you're going to take.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to bring someone in to help you.
Absolutely.
Not lose sight of what the actual.
The only thing you have an issue with, if you're not wanting to hear what you want, if you don't want to hear what you don't want to hear, don't invite a certain person.
Oh, that's right. Correct.
That means you're not getting engaged in the conversation. But if you know that you can just say, I'm going to throw ideas out.
Yeah.
I'm going to bounce ideas. And sometimes you might, if you can clearly say, yeah, so you As.
Yep.
And you did something, I'll do it to you. Okay, let's have a discussion, As. I'm going to be the devil's advocate today. So let me be the one who's going to be that obstacle. Yep. And then see how we navigate that. And then that we get through that, fine. Then I might say, well, I'm now going to create another obstacle. Or I might help you go, we just got to create and try and learn to role play.
Yep.
Or use your traits.
Yeah.
So know that if I'm going to be a systematic coach, say I need to be systematic. If I need to be considerate, part systematic, but part direction, you got to carry 3 traits today.
Yeah. You
always have your dominant trait, but just know you have to play traits.
Correct.
For each individual and the team as a whole. I'm not saying you got to be, you got to be so adaptive that you're no longer being the coach you are. But if you're trying to, unless you've got an elite team at the highest level, we know where they're at and they're on pace. That's their job. But when we're developing kids through a sport that we're talking about, I just think we just go, no, you got to play traits.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And each trait impacts different people. That might work for that person. It might not work for that, but it might work for the team as a whole.
Yep.
You just go, it's hard to get the balance, but if you sit down.
It takes time to know within yourself.
Well, as a coach, if you're half and every time, if you just brainstorm yourself what sort of coach you are, and you write down all different traits and who you are and parts of them, and you might actually realize, I've got more to offer. Maybe I have a better understanding of who I am as a coach. If I've been understanding who I am as a coach, I'm have a bit of impact with the players I'm dealing with.
Correct.
Players, same thing. What sort of player you are? What do you need?
Yeah.
How can you get help?
Yeah, that's right.
And how can you do all the things that you need and all that stuff? And reflect.
Exactly.
Do we do enough of that?
No, we don't.
I don't want to be told how to reflect. I don't want to be told who I should be. I don't want to be told what I need to be. But I'd like you to help me.
Yeah. But get a strong sense of who you are.
Yeah. Like, it's pretty hard when you get told what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
I get that. But let me have an understanding of what I need. Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
But when everyone tells you, like 4 coaches, individual coach, rep coach, domestic coach, school coach, they're all telling a player what they should do. The one player. What if every message is different?
Yeah, well, that becomes confusing.
What about if all 4 coaches said, hey, player A, I know you got 3 other coaches. Let's talk about concepts. Let's talk about what you need. And let's see how we can make it easy for you so you're not confused and get understanding. So we get to work out how we can all do this together. So every time you go to a different session, you're not getting confused and coming back with erratic behavior or self-doubt or pressure to perform or trusting oneself, fear of rejection, being judged, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Understand your role a little bit too. Correct.
Accountability on both sides.
Yeah.
And remember, we don't know what we don't know. So sharing of information does help.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Thoughts on today?
Oh, incredibly useful. Yeah. Yeah. I was frazzled. I won't lie. I walked in here, I was frazzled going, I don't know how we're going to tackle this, but now I'm not as frazzled. Thanks, Dazza.
Really? Well,
I was
guys,
probably frazzled with it.
I don't have the answers. I'm just a complicated cat who's gone through some complicated stuff, who said that life can no longer be complicated.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying right or wrong. There is Azza. We're just trying to show you ways and how we can try and change a thought, a conversation, or words, or try and find a new direction. Maybe we're heading in the wrong direction, don't realize it.
Maybe.
Sometimes you got to go off the beaten track to find out what the true track is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes I just make stuff up. How you feel? Good?
Good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I feel good, mate.
All right.
I feel really good, actually. I feel weirdly good. It's good.
Yeah. It was a different flavour today. Probably to where we've been a little bit. We've gone a little bit deeper.
And guys,
and I hope it was more positive.
You
know what I mean? It was a positive spin on how do we get through this negative sort of thought process or feelings or where we're at situationally.
That's why I'd love to change those words. Maybe I'm not talking about something negative. I'm just talking about how we can do something better.
Yes, correct.
If we change that, if I said we have a negative conversation or we have a conversation how we can do something better, what sounds better?
The latter. Correct.
You know my point?
Yeah, absolutely.
We lost today and we should have done X, Y, Z, blah, blah. Is that negative? Or, hey, guys, look, we lost today, but what we can do is we fix X, Y, and Z, we might be able to achieve something next week. Is that a positive or negative?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a big difference in that.
It's how we say it, how we promote it, and how it comes across is everything.
Absolutely.
We happy with today?
Absolutely, mate.
Well, guys, we do get a lot of personal reach out saying that they're happy with what we're doing because we wouldn't be doing otherwise.
Yes.
It's not about the likes and views, but if you feel that it's working or you feel it's helping and you can spread the word, great. Otherwise, listen, take it on and keep it within yourself. But yeah, the more people know, the more people that we think we can help, the easier it becomes.
Correct.
All right, guys, we are out and about. All good?
All good. Thanks, Dazza.
Much love, Azzy. We'll talk soon.
See you guys.
Guys, stay safe.
Yep. Bye.
See ya.